It was midnight. The kind of midnight where silence feels heavy, thick with something unsaid. The parking lot stretched out before me like a sea of shadows, broken only by the dull yellow glow of a single flickering light. My breath fogged against the car window as I sat there for a moment, exhausted after another endless shift. Then it happened. A sudden, violent pounding on the glass. My whole body jolted. My heart jumped straight into my throat. Outside the window, a face. His eyes were wild. His fists kept slamming the glass again and again, his voice tearing through the quiet night like a siren. "You better take me home, right now!" For a split second, I couldn't breathe. That's when I realized this wasn't just an annoying coworker losing his temper. This was something else. Something darker. Something dangerous. His name was Jake, but if you asked anyone at work, they'd all have a different word for him. Loud, creepy, arrogant, misogynist. Take your pick. They all fit. From the moment he walked into our workplace 6 months ago, the atmosphere changed. You could feel him in every room before he even entered, that smug confidence, the booming laugh, the constant need to dominate every conversation. He treated every woman in the building like they were extras in his movie. Didn't matter if they were senior managers or part-time clerks. To Jake, everyone was girl. "Hey girl, grab me that report." "Girl, where's my coffee?" If you didn't jump when he snapped, he'd make a scene. He'd roll his eyes, complain loud enough for the whole floor to hear, and then act like you were the problem. And the worst part? Management didn't do a damn thing. They'd shrug it off. "That's just how Jake is. Don't take him seriously." But we all knew the truth. Jake was a storm everyone was too afraid to stop. I wasn't one of his targets, not directly, but I saw it all. The way he'd corner the younger employees, the way their laughter would fade when he came near, the way the air in the room would shift, tense, uncertain, as if everyone was waiting for the next outburst. And the thing that haunted me the most? The look in their eyes, the helplessness. I'd promised myself something that day. If Jake ever tried that crap with me, I wouldn't stay silent. A few weeks passed and I started to notice something about him. Jake didn't drive, didn't own a car, didn't even have a license. Every night after work, he'd walk around the break room with that fake friendly smile plastered on his face, trying to guilt someone into driving him home. "Hey man, you heading my way? It's just 10 minutes, come on bro, don't be a jerk." If you said no, the mask would slip instantly. He'd glare, mutter something under his breath, or badmouth you to the others the next day. Everyone gave in, eventually. Everyone but me. That night, I just wanted to go home. The shift had run late, past midnight. Only 3 of us were left, me, the night manager, and Jake. I could feel his presence before I even turned around. The shuffle of footsteps behind me, the sound of him clearing his throat. "Yo, man, you're driving tonight, right?" I didn't turn. I just said quietly, "Sorry, can't. I'm heading the other way." He laughed, that fake, mocking kind of laugh. "Come on, don't be like that. It's just a few minutes." I said no. My voice was steady, but inside I could already feel the tension building. He took a step closer. You serious right now? Yeah. I kept walking. The night air outside was sharp and cold. The parking lot was empty, just rows of silent cars under that one flickering streetlight. My footsteps echoed. So did his. I reached my car, unlocked the door, got in. And before I could even start the engine, bang! The window shook. My heart jumped. Jake's face was inches away, his breath fogging the glass, his eyes burning with fury. You better take me home, right now. He slammed his fist again, and again. The sound was deafening. In that moment, it wasn't just anger I saw. It was rage. It was control. It was every ounce of power he thought he had over everyone, crashing against my window like a storm. Something inside me snapped. I didn't say a word, didn't even look at him. I just turned the key. The engine roared to life. Hey, don't ignore me, he screamed, pounding harder. I shifted into reverse. The tires squealed. For a second, he stumbled back, surprised. Then, I hit the gas. The car shot backward, gravel spitting from under the tires. He jumped away, shouting something I couldn't hear. I didn't care. I was gone. By the time I got home, my hands were still shaking. My heart wouldn't slow down. I sat there in the driveway for a long time, staring at the steering wheel, trying to process what had just happened. Anger, fear, relief, all tangled together. That night, I made another promise. Not to myself this time, but to him. I was done playing nice. If management didn't want, but I wasn't going to let that man anywhere near my peace again. The next morning, the story spread like wildfire. I didn't have to say much. The bruises on the car window told their own story. Some of my coworkers looked horrified. Others looked relieved. One of the women, a quiet girl named Leah, said softly, "He scares me sometimes." You did the right thing. After that night, Jake avoided me completely. No more glares, no snide comments, just silence. For a while, I thought that was the end of it, but karma has a strange sense of timing. Part 2. The silence before karma. For the first time in months, the air felt lighter. Jake's voice, that constant grating background noise, was gone. No more laughter that wasn't funny. No more "hey girl" echoing through the office hallways. Just quiet. But it was a fragile quiet. The kind you don't quite trust yet. The kind that feels like a storm holding its breath before the next strike. Every morning when I walked through those glass doors, part of me still expected to see him standing there, leaning against the counter, smirking, ready to start something. But he didn't. He stayed away. For weeks. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was ego. Maybe, for once, he realized he'd picked the wrong person to mess with. But deep down, I knew Jake wasn't the kind of man who just stopped. Guys like him, they didn't change. They waited. They plotted. They waited for another chance to feel powerful again. And that's exactly what he did. The office whispers. A few weeks later, whispers started spreading through the building. Not loud enough to be gossip, just murmurs that floated from desk to desk. "He's been talking about you," one of my coworkers told me quietly over lunch. "He said you disrespected him." I sighed. Of course he did. Another coworker added, "He's saying you made him look bad in front of management." I laughed, but it wasn't funny. Jake had this talent, this gift, for twisting the truth until it fit the version of reality where he was the victim. He'd probably tell anyone who'd listen that I overreacted, that he just needed a ride, that I was trying to make him look bad, and maybe that would have worked if he hadn't already burned every bridge in the building. The cracks begin to show. It started small. One of the women in HR, someone who used to tolerate his behavior, suddenly refused to sign off on his shift changes. The barista downstairs stopped serving him his usual without payment. Even the manager, the same one who used to shrug and say, "That's just Jake," started to look tired when he came around. The invincible man was losing his audience. I saw him once in the hallway, standing alone by the vending machine. He looked different. Still cocky, still loud, but behind the smirk, there was something new, something like fear. He noticed me. Our eyes met, and for a long, frozen moment, neither of us said a word. He smirked finally, that same fake grin. "Still scared of me, huh?" I smiled back. "Not anymore," and I walked away. It was the smallest victory, but it felt enormous. Because that's the thing about bullies. Once you stop giving them your fear, they start shrinking, fast. The breaking point. The real collapse came months later, in the most unexpected way. It was a hot summer afternoon, long after that night in the parking lot. I was scrolling through my phone on lunch break when a notification popped up in our team group chat. Video attached. "Is this who I think it is?" I clicked it, and there he was, Jake, standing in the middle of a highway, shouting, sweating, his face twisted in fury. The video played like some chaotic movie scene, cars honking, tires screeching, horns blaring. Apparently, he'd gotten into a road rage fight while hitching a ride home with another coworker. The video showed him jumping out of a moving car, pounding on another driver's window, screaming like a man possessed. The caption under the video read, "Unhinged man causes highway chaos, full clip below." I sat there frozen, my sandwich halfway to my mouth, watching as Jake completely lost control. Every punch he threw at that window, every scream that echoed through that highway, felt like years of pent-up anger exploding all at once. The video cut to him being dragged away by police officers. The crowd's laughter, the honking horns, the flashing lights. It was like watching karma unfold frame by frame. The group chat erupts. The office exploded. Everyone was talking about it. "Did you see that? Oh my God, that's Jake. He actually attacked someone in traffic." Memes, reactions, laughter. Even the local news station picked it up. By the end of the week, Jake was infamous. His face was all over social media. Every comment was a brutal takedown. Classic toxic guy loses it. Imagine being this unstable in public. Karma finally clocked in for work. And there it was again, that sweet silence, that beautiful, heavy, final silence that follows justice. The last straw. You'd think that would have been the end of it, that someone like him, after public humiliation, would have finally learned something. But Jake, he was too far gone. The breaking point came 2 weeks later. when he shouted at the general manager, the female general manager. Rumor said she walked right up to him, calm as ice, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "Get the F out of my building." And just like that, he was gone. No warning, no meeting, no, "we'll look into it." Just done. The door closed behind him, and with it, every ounce of chaos he'd brought with him. The quiet after the storm. That night, I went home and poured myself a drink. Not to celebrate, but to breathe. I raised the glass to the quiet room around me and whispered, "Here's to karma," because the truth is, I didn't ruin his life. He did. He dug his own grave, one cruel word at a time. He pushed people until there was no one left to push. And when the world finally pushed back, he had no one to blame but himself. The lesson. People think revenge is loud. A fight, a confrontation, a storm of words. But sometimes, revenge is quiet. It's walking away when someone expects you to beg. It's surviving when they want you to break. It's watching karma do what you never had to. And that's exactly what happened. I didn't need to yell. Didn't need to expose him. Didn't need to destroy him. All I had to do was drive away that night. That single choice, to walk away, to refuse to give him control, changed everything. Because walking away isn't weakness. It's power. It's peace. It's the first step to freedom. Part 3. When silence learned to speak. It had been 6 months since that night in the parking lot. 6 months since I heard his fists on the glass. 6 months since his voice, raw, violent, desperate, echoed through the dark. But sometimes, in the quiet moments before sleep, I could still hear it. That sound. Bang, 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 against the window. It haunted me, like an unfinished sentence the night refused to end. The girl behind the fear. My name is Maya Torres, 24 years old, fresh out of college, trying to survive my first real job. A mid-sized company that smelled like burnt coffee, old paperwork, and cheap ambition. When I joined, I wanted to prove myself. I showed up early, stayed late, said yes to everything. I thought working hard would make me respected. But respect doesn't come easy when you're surrounded by men like Jake. He was older, early 30s maybe, loud, tall, and the kind of man who always stood too close when he spoke. He'd call me kiddo in front of clients, like it was cute. He'd wink when I answered questions in meetings. And every time he passed by my desk, he'd leave behind that smell, cheap cologne and arrogance. At first, I ignored it. That's what women are taught to do, right? Smile, laugh it off. Don't make things awkward. But ignoring poison doesn't make it harmless. It just spreads slower. The breaking point. It started small. A joke that wasn't funny. A comment that wasn't innocent. A stare that lasted too long. Then came the favors. "Hey, Maya, could you drop me home? My Uber's taking too long." "Come on, it's on your way." "You're not scared of a little company, are you?" Every instinct in me screamed, no. But his tone wasn't a request. It was a test. And one night, after a long double shift, When everyone was too tired to notice, he pushed too far. The night everything changed. The office was empty. The clocks glowed 12:03 a.m. Rain tapped against the glass windows like impatient fingers. I was in the parking lot, juggling my keys, half asleep, when I saw movement in the corner of my eye. Jake. He was standing by the lamppost, his shadow cutting across the concrete. He smiled that smile, the one that made my skin crawl. "Maya," he called. "You heading home? I need a lift." I froze. "No, I'm going the other way." He laughed. "Don't lie. I know you live east." He took a step closer, then another. The rain fell harder. The air thickened. I walked faster, heart pounding, breath short. I reached my car, slammed the door, locked it, just as his hand hit the window. Bang! Once. Twice. 3 times. His voice thundered through the glass. "Open the door!" "Don't you walk away from me." For a second, I couldn't move. It was like my body forgot how to exist. My chest burned. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. And then something snapped inside me. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to plead. Not tonight. I hit reverse, tires screeching against the wet ground. Jake jumped back, shouting something I couldn't hear. And I drove, faster than I ever had, headlights cutting through rain and fear. I didn't stop until the city lights blurred into streaks of white and red. The aftermath. That night changed me, but not in the way I expected. The next morning, I walked into the office, pale, silent, holding my coffee like a shield. Everyone acted normal, laughed, typed, gossiped. But I wasn't the same Maya anymore. I was the girl who locked her car doors twice, who checked every shadow twice, who smiled less and watched more. And in that quiet, something began to shift. I stopped apologizing, stopped staying late, stopped pretending everything was fine. Because I finally understood. Silence doesn't protect you. It just keeps you small. The rise of karma. Weeks passed. Jake's charm began to crack. People whispered about his temper, about how he yelled at a client, about how HR was looking into things. One day I walked into the break room and heard someone laughing, the kind of laugh people make when karma's working overtime. "You won't believe this," my coworker said, phone in hand. "Jake lost it on the highway. Someone filmed him attacking another driver's car." She turned the screen toward me. There he was, Jake, screaming in traffic, pounding on someone's window like a man gone feral. The video had already hit thousands of views. The headline read, "Unhinged driver causes highway chaos." I watched in silence, not smiling, not celebrating, just breathing. Because I realized I didn't need revenge. The world had already handled it. The fall. It didn't take long. First the whispers, then the HR emails. Then one afternoon, the sound of footsteps, heavy and rushed. Jake stormed into the office, shouting something about lies and jealous coworkers. He went straight to the general manager's office, the same woman he'd mocked for months. The door closed. 10 minutes later, it opened again. She followed him out, eyes cold, voice calm. Get out. That was it. No drama, no debate, just 3 words. Jake stared at her, like the world had just flipped upside down. Then stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. And in that echo, that deep, trembling thud, every woman in that office exhaled. For the first time in years, we were free. The healing. Healing didn't happen overnight. I still jumped at sudden noises, still avoided the far end of the parking lot, still carried pepper spray in my hand like a habit. But I also learned something else, something stronger. Fear doesn't fade. It transforms. It becomes awareness, caution, strength. I started helping the newer girls at work, the ones who flinched when someone raised their voice. I told them, "You don't have to be quiet. You don't owe anyone your silence." And every time I said it, I felt that night slip a little further away. The redemption. A year later, I was promoted. Not because of what happened, but because I refused to let what happened define me. One afternoon, while packing my old desk, I found something. A small note I'd written to myself months ago. Just 3 words, scribbled on a coffee receipt. Don't freeze again. I smiled, because that girl, the one who trembled behind the wheel, gasping in the dark, she didn't freeze anymore. She fought. She survived. She drove away. And that was her victory. The final scene. That night I took a drive. Same car, same road, same hour. But this time I wasn't afraid. The parking lot was empty again, silent, moonlit, calm. I parked under the same flickering lamp and sat there, with the engine running, windows rolled down. The air was cold and clean. And for the first time, I felt peace. No pounding on the glass, no voice in the dark. Just silence. The kind you earn after walking through fire and refusing to burn. I smiled, whispered to the night, "Here's to karma, and to never looking back." Then I put the car in gear and drove away. Headlights cutting through the darkness, heart finally free. Narrator's end line, voiceover style. Some stories aren't about revenge. They're about release. Because sometimes, the best thing you can do is drive away and let the universe take care of the rest.